Welcome to How to Be a Person, a podcast about life with me, your host, Giuliano Grimaudo. Shane, what's going on, my friend? Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got connected and we're able to do this. I feel like what you do is really unique. It's not something I've come across before. And so I'm interested to have a conversation about it. So, yeah, if you want to explain a little bit about what you do and how you got into it, we'll go from there.
Yeah, I could tell you. I'll tell you. I'll come back to my backstory where I started, but I'll just tell you that my what we're doing right now is my company is Stable Living Coaching, and we use a focus of we demonstrate principles, life principles through horses, and horses are just these magnificent creatures. We're not like hippotherapy or direct horse therapy. In other words, we don't
Okay.
interact with horses. I do a couple of
Mm,
live events a year where we actually have people, and then we do demonstrate in person. We do that a couple of times a year, live events. But this is not my stable living coaching is just using horse related principles that relate to people and human beings and our issues with relationship, because the relationship between man and horse is it's just so many parallels, and it adds a layer of interest. And it seems like I get a little bit better cooperation, because when you can see something that really makes sense and you can see what horses are doing and how they interact with people and each other, it seems like it's easy to accept. I don't know. There's just
sure.
a little bit of magic to it. I can't really explain why, but it's it seems to work well, especially with our main focus. I work with a lot of different kind of people with addiction and stuff like that, but
Okay.
mainly with teens and the issues that they have and their parents.
Mm. Yeah, so I'm glad you clarified that because I have heard of that before, like people working directly with horses, but that is pretty interesting. I know that like myself, I'm a coach as well, and I'm always looking for, analogies and parallels to be able to draw and share with people, like to help them get the point. And I think that's kind of cool because I guess I don't really know enough about horses to realize that there are that many parallels, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear about them.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of easy ones, a couple of quick ones that are
Sure.
kind of fun. Um, One is that horses, just because of the nature of who they are, because they're a fight or flight animal, they're
Mm,
so perceptive. I mean, they're just totally tuned into everything. And
mm,
a lot of times as human beings that we think that we have a lot of internal stuff that's not coming out. But it's really it is coming out, by the way. It's coming out. What's inside of me is coming out right now. I might be
sure.
trying to hide, or you know run it in the background, or I might be trying to
Mm,
stuff it down and come out in a different way. I may be doing
yeah,
all kinds of stuff, but what is at the root core inside of me? People notice, to one degree or another.
absolutely.
And with horses, I mean, when you come to the barn, Juliana, when you come to the barn, there's no secrets. I mean, none. You think you're going to keep it inside of yourself? I mean, those horses, they know. They really
Really?
know. One of the big things that they pick up on, that horses pick up on, is our insecurities, our fear. If we have a little bit of fear, they pick up on it, and they need to.
Mm,
But just for them, it's a matter of survival, just the way that they're wired and their brain works. But
okay.
they pick up on a little bit of fear from us, and you know what kind of their thinking is like, hey, this guy or this gal thinks something's wrong, and then they start to say, hey, what's wrong?
Mm,
Why? And then they start to react based on the way that you're feeling. And then usually, if it's
interesting.
fear or a lack of confidence that you're showing as a leader, then usually it doesn't go well.
Interesting. So they're
Yeah.
almost kind of like a mirror to your emotions.
A mirror is exactly the words of what it is. They mirror. You know,
Hmm.
if I show up as the confident leader, I mean, they mirror that. They come with me. I have a willing partner. If I show up as I got some stuff going on, we're going to have some stuff going on in this deal here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I
So
liked what you said before too, that like with human beings, I think whether they realize it or not, they do something similar. But like what you said, where it's like what's happening inside of you is being communicated out, whether you like are purposely communicating it or not, like in one way, shape, or form, it is being communicated out to the world.
yeah, it's gonna come out. You know, the big things. What I'm really all about. My big message to the world. I'm in the process of writing a book, and you just touched on it, Juliana. So I'm going to say it. It's uh,
Sure.
or get a part of it out, and that is that you know the thing that that has the most impact on our results as human beings in this lifetime is it's internal, and what it is it's what we
Mm,
believe to be true about ourselves, and
yeah.
those those beliefs. Now, you may be we may be talking about conscious beliefs, or we may be talking about, you never really thought about it, but whether you've thought about it or not, whether if it's conscious or not, it's happening and it is coming out. And as a matter
Yeah.
of fact, it is determining your results in this lifetime. It's determining
Mm,
your outcomes.
yeah.
And I'm super serious about what we think to be true about ourselves, because I've had some I've learned the hard way, and I've suffered, and I've caused a lot of suffering, and I've seen a lot of suffering in others and my clients and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
and it's based on what we think about ourselves.
Yeah. I was just talking to, I had another guest on the other day, and we were talking about this. Like when you, so here, first of all, before I relate this, I'm curious what your thoughts are. When someone pushes back on that and they're like, what are you talking about? Like thing happened to me. This thing happened to me. That was outside of my control. Like what's your reasoning on it?
Well, things do happen that are outside of our control. You know, there's no doubt about that. Things happen; those are called circumstances, and I'm not in control of everything, every circumstance that happens in this world. I'm not in control. What I am in
Mm,
control of is me and what I decide to think and the meaning I place on that.
mm,
And the meanings that I place on it is actually going to be what determines my results, because there's not a right or wrong answer. And so, about any circumstance, you can determine what you would like to make it mean. The thing about it
mm,
is a lot of times we don't question our thoughts. We don't question our beliefs. And a lot of times we're even back a half a step further, saying that we are at the effect of, or the mercy of, or something else is in total control of us, which none of that is
mm,
true.
yeah.
While we cannot control our circumstances, that doesn't mean that what we do have control is of ourselves. Okay? We have total control over ourselves, and so and that's going to be what it's going to be. But a lot
Yeah.
of times that we think that the thoughts that we think about circumstances, I think I know that we look at those as facts. And a lot
Mm,
of times we don't question those thoughts, and those thoughts that we have about circumstances, um, the thoughts, okay, that we do have control over is going to be what drives our feelings. Our feelings is what cause us to push us to act, and
mm.
our actions is what equal our results in this lifetime. So
Yeah.
I hope
Look,
that,
I totally agree with you. I think that was one of the things we were talking about was how it's not until you actually do something about the thoughts you're thinking that you start creating different thoughts and you start getting different results and you realize, oh my gosh, it's been inside me this whole time. And I think it's hard to get to that point. Just like you said, like a lot of us don't are unaware of that process. Like I will say that I don't know how I feel about whether or not it's a scientific process or a spiritual process. I don't really know. But what I will say is for sure that what's happening in here absolutely affects what's happening out here. And I agree with like, the thoughts, the feelings, the actions for sure. But sometimes things happen and you're like, man, I can't quite trace it back. Right. But my point is that like when you do start changing the thoughts that are happening in your mind and you see the results you're getting in your life and the things happening around you change after you've made that, then you're almost kind of hooked. Right. And you go, okay, I got to start examining these things that I believe. So then that popped in my head. There's this quote. Let me see if I can get it right. It was basically, it's not what you don't know that hurts you. It's what you think you know with absolute certainty that you won't question. And it made me think of that when you were describing it, because you're exactly right. Like, there are things that we're 100% certain on. It's like, this is a fact, when ultimately everything we know is simply a belief that we've chosen to say, okay, this is fact, when ultimately it's just a choice. It's a choice to believe that quote unquote fact. And we can change what we believe. We can choose to believe something different, and it can affect the results that we get.
That's the power that we have. And
Yeah.
that is the power. And you're spot right on it, because that's the thing. The thing of it is we, a lot of times we don't know to question our thoughts. We look at our
Mm.
thoughts and we say, that was mean. What you did to me was unfair. Okay. And that, I live my life on that. And that's a fact. That was unfair. Can't you see that was unfair, Giuliano? That was
Mm.
unfair. And so that's just the way it is. I can't do anything about that. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that they did something. That's the circumstance. What I think about it, whether it's fair or not, are my thoughts. And my
Mm.
thoughts about me deciding and coming up with the story and my belief system and my thought and my focus on that wasn't fair is what determines my results, not what they did.
Mm.
Doesn't determine my results. And so it's spot right on. I circling a little bit back to what we believe to
Sure.
be about ourselves. I'm going to come back to
Yeah.
when I was a young man, and I'm not so young anymore. When I was a teenager, I'm talking about when I was a teenager, even into my early 20s.
Okay.
All of us as young people, we don't know, but we take in all this information. We have this empty brain, and it starts to fill up as we live our days, and it has all this input, and it just takes it in, and then it spits out results as fast as it goes. And one of the thoughts in my mind as a young man is that I thought that, I was just a little bit deficient somehow,
Mm.
that didn't quite measure up, that I wasn't quite as good as the rest of the guys in my class and girls, and that something was just quite wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it. Had a
Yeah.
hard time talking to other, kids, and trying to fit in and trying to do good at sports and schools and fit into the groups. But it was a real struggle. And I had this voice that just kept telling me that, like, you're not quite as good as the rest, you know.
Mm.
And it didn't feel very good. And I thought that the goal was to feel good all the time. And long about I was 15, 16, it was the first time in my life that I experienced alcohol, and
Mm.
problem solved. I mean, I solved my own problem. I
Mm.
was so proud of myself. I felt so much better, you know, about me in those moments.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
that that little thought cycle of feel bad, feel better, eventually it went to feel bad, feel better, feel worse, feel good, feel worse. And then it just was I was caught into that cycle because
Yeah.
I went there to feel better, and it ended up uh, in a 2 decade. I was locked up in prison. I had you know ruined my relationships with my kids, my marriages, my businesses. Everything just totally went to shit. And it's as
Yeah.
simple as, I mean, I'm talking about a super destructive cycle where um, I left a trail of damage and carnage behind me, of just destruction and pain and suffering that I can't go back and fix. A lot of it is
Mm.
not fixable.
Yeah.
And so the stuff that I'm talking about is for real. I mean, it has real consequences. And
Yeah.
alcohol didn't do anything. What did do something to me, what caused my results, and by the way, impacted everyone that I came in contact with, was that little thought pattern that I just described. It sounds so simple, but that's the way that this rolls.
Mm.
And so if we don't become aware, okay, and here's another part about this, is that a lot of times when it comes to confidence or my beliefs about me, I think that I'm confident, Julian. Can't you see that? And see what she's doing over there, trying to draw that attention to herself. That is a lack of confidence. See that? I don't do that. I got my confidence a long time ago when I was, long time ago. I'm confident. We view it as something that we check off our list and we go on to the next thing in life, when in fact that's not the way it is. My brain's
Mm,
input is determining what I think about myself on an ongoing basis, 24/7,
yeah.
with all the
It's like
input.
situational.
What did you say about me? Oh man, that doesn't feel good. What does that mean about me? Hey Shane, you did a great job in that podcast today. Oh,
Mm.
oh man, how did I feel? Okay, it's 24, it's constantly happening. And unless we're become aware of that
Mm.
and intentionally pursue believing what we want to
Yeah.
about ourselves, we're going to be at the effect of what happens to us, our circumstances, and we will be
Mm.
blaming and feeling like we'll be feeling powerless and blaming circumstances for our lot in life.
Mm. Well, I think too, what you said is really important. Like sometimes you just need someone to tell you that you can do that, right? Like it wasn't like I mean, I'm trying to think for me when the first time I realized, oh, like it seems silly now, but it's just there was a point where I went, oh, not everything I think is true. Right? Like, wait a second, I'm separate from my thoughts. I can look at my own thoughts and be like, I want to change that and choose to think something differently. And sometimes you just need someone to give you that permission. Like, hey, your thoughts, the beliefs you have, they're not set in stone. And also they're not you, right? Just like you might have in your hand, like in my hand, I have a pen. The pen is not me. It's just something I have. And that's like your thoughts as well. Your thoughts are just something you have. It's something that you can let go of if you choose to. It's something you can set aside. It's something you could look at from a different angle, right? And sometimes you just need someone to tell you that that's possible.
You do. What you're saying is like there is nothing silly about it. Some people, some of us either take forever to get there, and some people on this planet will live and die and never understand that
Yeah,
concept. These are
yeah,
these are life changing concepts. The fact that you can
yeah,
think about your thoughts proves that you are not your thoughts. A lot of times
yeah,
we want to believe that those things constitute who we are, when in
mm,
fact it's just our natural, normal, biological brain feeding us information. I like to look at it as a supercomputer. We all have it. Isn't this amazing? You have your own supercomputer, and as far as I'm concerned, it puts any AI to shame. And you were born
yeah,
with
for
it.
sure.
And it has its own unique processor. No one, even identical twins, don't have the same exact processor brain,
Mm,
not born with the exact same sequences of DNA. No one. You
yeah,
have your own. By the way, you also have your very own set of input. No one else has your identical life experience. No one. So you're the only one that has your processor, your brain, and your experience, your input to be able to formulate thoughts. It's absolutely
mm,
incredible. And
yeah,
and with that, we have been given, if we come to know, I think it's a responsibility to really to take a look and to be able to question as much stuff as we can. There's so much
mm,
chatter and estimates of thousands, up to 60,000 thoughts a day is one estimate of how much information is just flying through our brain in a 24-hour period. But things that seem relevant to us, things that seem to matter, seems that things to be disturbances or things that need to be great, those things, if we can just take a few of them out ongoing and question our beliefs and our thoughts and choose if we want to keep them or if we want to try choose a different one, because those things are
yeah.
what's going to determine our outcome, not the effects of our circumstances. We're not at the effect of, we're at the effect of our thoughts,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Super interesting. You know what's funny was as we're talking about this, I'm realizing you work with teenagers, right? Because I'm sitting here thinking I had to get to this place on my own and eventually realize it from like reading some books and even the books, right? It's not like someone's like, hey, yeah, you should read personal development books. If anything, it's like the opposite, right? People like scoff at like self-help books. It's like, no, don't read that stuff. It's just, word salad, whatever. And so eventually you're like, well, but it seems like maybe it's interesting, right? And then you open it and you start reading stuff, and oh wow, okay. So I'm just sitting here thinking, man, if someone could have explain this to me as a teenager. That would have been life changing. So I'm assuming that's like kind of the experience that you're providing with, these teenagers you're working with.
Juliana, that's when I looked back, when I stopped the cycle, when I broke the cycle, and I like to say, with the by the grace of God and with the help of horses, I broke the cycle. And when I broke the cycle that I described earlier of this addiction, it changed everything. Once I figured out the formula, I lost 35 pounds. I started making serious money. The addiction was over. I quit tobacco. I mean, I had all these things applied the same thing. And it didn't happen overnight. It happened over a period of years. But I looked back and I said, Shane, we've all said this, like, I wish I would have known then what I know now. And so that was my, the where I began to have this idea of stable living coaching, because some of the just simple concepts, which they seem simple now, but they were like monumental,
Hmm.
and they have so much impact. One of the things that I thought that I just briefly mentioned earlier is that I believed, which I do not believe anymore, that the purpose of life was to be happy and feel good all the time. And that's why when I felt bad because of what I thought about myself, and I felt better when I drank alcohol, I just wanted to stay there all the time, and I did.
Hmm.
But I mean, most of us are just not taught that, hey, about half of life is not going to feel good, and that's going to be okay. And you're going to need that to be okay. You're going to need to be able to be in your discomfort, to be inside and live with your discomfort sometimes, and have it be okay to be that way, and not make it mean something about you, and not
Hmm.
fight it off necessarily, or at all. And it's not to strive to have, I'm not saying don't strive to have joy in your life. What I'm saying is to be able to accept the fact that life is not always going to be that way. In fact, we couldn't know what that good way was if we didn't experience the bad. And by the way, on top of that, when it comes to the joy that I've experienced in my life, every ounce of it was a result of me being willing to give some discomfort in order to get there. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It's like
Yeah.
discipline. um, it's a hard word when I say it. Like, it hurts my ears. I still can't get used to wanting to be excited about discipline. You know what I'm saying? But the thing of it is when the alarm goes off, if I've said I'm getting up at 5 and the alarm goes off, I got two choices. I can go through 10 to 15 minutes of discomfort until I'm awake and ready to roll, or I can just hit that snooze and go back to sleep for an hour. And when I wake up and hit the day, I'm going to suffer much more discomfort than that first few minutes of waking up. On
Hmm.
top of that, I will not have got the result of that missing time that I slept. So the joy that I've experienced, truly, I think the goal ought to be to embrace discomfort if you
Hmm.
really want joy. To embrace the discomfort, to go for it, to like bring it on. Uh, I heard somebody recently talking about this cold water plunges and cold showers and the whole
Hmm.
uh, Cairo type thing, and he said one of the comment was is like, I don't really know. There's also proof physically that this may not be good for you, with all the evidence that it's good for your physical body. There's some evidence that
Hmm.
it's not good for your physical body. He said, I don't
Okay.
care. The reason I do it is because it's difficult. And I'm like, holy
Hmm.
shit, I'm with you. You're doing
Yeah.
it because
Interesting.
it's difficult. Embrace the difficult. I mean, if you can go get in some ice water for 5 minutes, I mean, just think of what you can do when it makes to an uncomfortable phone call with a client or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. You know what's really interesting, and what I'll say is that um I think just like we're talking about being able to examine your thoughts, I think also when it comes to things like discomfort, when it comes to things that are hard, I think it is also then a choice how we view that activity. because we can view it as like, this is uncomfortable, this is hard. But if we choose to appreciate it, it's like it doesn't actually have to be. That's one of the things I found that's so interesting is like, because I don't disagree with you in the sense that I feel like there's certain things that need to be done in order to have the life that you want. But what I've also found is that even though, I guess what I found is that some people will label those things as difficult, and then other people will enjoy those exact same activities. And to see that makes you go, interesting. So the activity itself is not necessarily not enjoyable. It's a matter of the person's perspective of that activity. And so, like, I can make the choice to enjoy that activity as well. Like, I was thinking how there's certain things. So you can make that choice, right? You can say, okay, I'm going to change the way that I view that activity and have an appreciation for it instead of just like, oh, this is so hard. But I think also, like a good example for me, like with exercise, I've done a bunch of different like exercise routines. I've tried different things, and nothing ever really kind of like clicked with me. I was always like, yeah, I would kind of be interested in the beginning, and then I would stop. And the one thing that I've stuck with now for maybe 2 or 3 months, which is pretty solid, is kettlebells. I kind of was like I said, for years I've been experimenting with different things, and I came across these kettlebell workouts, and I was giving it a shot, and I was like, man, I actually really like this. There's something about this specific activity. I don't know what it is, because if you would have asked me a while ago, I would have said I hate exercise, right? But there's something about this activity in particular that I feel like it's the right amount of hard, it's the right amount of like challenging, but like I'm interested in increasing the challenge in it. And so, all of that to say, I do think that there are certain things that we can choose to appreciate and have a different experience over. But I also think that if you're not enjoying something, there's also ways to find, like, to make it enjoyable, to find a way that it can be enjoyable. Because I might have labeled in the past, oh, I don't like exercising, but ultimately, maybe I just didn't find the thing within the umbrella of exercising that I actually enjoy doing. And now that I have, I'm like, oh, I love it. I love exercising. It's fun, even though in the past I would have viewed it the other way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it definitely can help you to when you see the other side and you're willing to go for it. It can definitely change the perspective you have about what you're going through. And like we've been talking about, you get to choose what it means.
Mm-hmm.
You get to choose
Mm-hmm.
what you want to think about what's happening, right? You get to think about those exercises, whatever you choose to be able to. I I want to I was wondering I wanted to kind of come back to one thing
Sure.
about horses. Back to the
Yeah,
horse
please.
thing. Um, there's um, I'll give you this quick example. In the wild, we talk about wild or feral horses. Horses exist in herds or groups. Okay, they have their own little communities, and their
Yeah.
strength is in their numbers because they don't. They have a very little. They don't have. They can kick and a little bit of bite, but they're not super aggressive, offensive. They're more run away, right?
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
fight or flight, but they're going to run most of the time. And so they are prey animals. And so their strength is in their
Mm.
numbers. Now, the 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 per group or per herd, you will rarely have more than one or two adult males or stud horses or stallions. And then
Okay.
the majority of the group is going to be females or mares. Um, when in the group, and uh, as the older ones, as they get older, they go off and form their own groups, and that's kind of how it goes. That's the way of the
Mm.
world. Is that as they age, the older males will go off.
Okay.
Now, in my example, I have a younger horse. Let's younger meaning 6 months to up to 2 years. Okay, not
Okay.
fully developed. We have a young horse, and he does something. Okay, he's making too much noise. He's biting. He's screwing off. He's playing. Who knows what he's doing? He's running around. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. The rest of the group's like, "Hey, we don't do that here. You're breaking
Okay.
the rules, man." So what they do is they physically threaten him and they push him away from the group. Okay, they'll
Mm.
get together, two or three of them, and they'll just basically they'll force him, push him, chase him, threaten to kick, threaten to bite, and push him off. And every time he comes back, they'll threaten him again. So they remove him from the group. They isolate him by himself over there. Okay, so
Okay.
we're talking maybe 100 yards off. Okay, something like that. And now he's over there going, I feel pretty, I'm exposed over here. This is
Mm-hmm.
dangerous. What's going on? Let me back in. And he's he's at he's at risk, right? He's vulnerable
Yeah.
out there by himself.
Yeah.
But they won't let him back in because he did something. Now you can imagine. I apply this to people too. It was like, hey, that wasn't fair. I didn't know the rules. What's going on? Now you're going to put me over here, and I could get killed easy. And like, come on, let me back in. What happens really in the wild, though, when those horses recognize that they're in danger, they signal to the group, and how they do it is they put their head down below their knees, and they walk a line back and forth with their head down, and they're also doing like a licking and chewing motion, but they're not licking or they're not eating or anything, and they're
Hmm.
signaling to the group. And what that means in horse language is, hey man, I don't know what I did, sorry, I won't do it again, let me back in, I'm giving my humility, my openness, my apology. And you know what those horses do? They immediately let him back in. Okay.
Mm.
They immediately let that horse back in. They don't hold on to, if the behavior's over and you're communicating to me remorse or acceptance and humility, then the whole event's over.
Hmm.
We're going to let you back in. And so the reason that I bring that up is two things. Some of the analogies that I draw from what happens in the wild horse world is first of all that horses don't hold on to things; they let them go. They live in the
Mm.
moment. They're not going to bring it up and say it's not going to be residue for future stuff. It's over. Now,
Yeah.
if you do it
Yeah.
again, we're going to be back to where we were. But as long as you don't, it's over. That's number one. The second part is that with our lives, one of the biggest things that plays into what we've been talking about when it comes to beliefs that we hold to be true about ourselves is the things that we've done, okay, that we're ashamed of. So I'm talking about
Mm.
shame right now. So either things that we've done, things that we've not done, or things that have been done to us, okay?
Mm.
And without questioning our beliefs, our default brain will tell us will give us shame. Okay. And shame, basically, the basic meaning of shame means that because of what you are done, you are deficient or less than or damaged. You're not as good as the rest of the world. Something is wrong with you because of what you have done. Okay.
Mm.
So the separation between who you are and what you have done is not there. You're being determined. Shame means because of what you have done, you are that. You're a problem, right?
Mm.
And so my, uh, you know, there's more and more information and more teaching and openness uh, about shame, but and shame resilience and how to deal with it because we're all going to deal with it. You know, I've done some stuff we're not going to talk about today. Okay, but the thing of it is we've all done some stuff in our
Sure.
lifetime, no matter what
Sure.
it is. Maybe I think your thing's this big, and maybe I think your thing's this big. I don't know what you think about it, but it does. What only thing that matters is what I think about my stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've all experienced that something wrong with me because of what I've done feeling, right?
Mm.
Which is shame. And if we can come to understand, first of all, to be able to not hide to hide from the thing, to be able to own the thing and have it be okay that we've done whatever the thing is that we've done. Because my the biggest message that I have to human beings, I wish I could tell, and I could ask everyone human being to adopt my belief. And my belief is that regardless of what you have done, regardless of what you have not done, and regardless of what has been done to you, regardless. And I mean regardless. I mean, I don't care what it is, no matter what it
Mhm.
is. Okay, you are 100%, 100, perfectly priceless and perfectly invaluable. 100% worthy and deserving of all the goodness and abundance that is available in this world. And if you don't believe it, I would ask you to consider that belief, because I believe that in all of my core. And because I work on that belief inside of myself, it's not, a lot of times I hear it with a relationship with yourself. Oh, that's just selfish. That's too much time on you, this and that and the other. And let me tell you something. Your relationship with yourself is one of the most selfless and noble acts that you're going to do. I don't even think it's a good idea, because you're going to have a better life. That's great. But I think it's more than that. I think it's our responsibility and our duty to commit to pursuing a an unconditional loving relationship with ourselves, because
Mhm.
it gives us the capacity, it increases our capacity to be able to give and support and love the people that we care deepest, the most about on this planet in this lifetime. And those
Yeah.
things are facts. I used to think it didn't matter. I used to think, hey, what I think about me, it has nothing to do with what's going on with what I'm doing with some talking to somebody else over here, which was it was wrong. I proved it's wrong. I can assure you that's not the way that the natural law of the world. What we believe about ourselves is coming out. Like the first few sentences we had in this interview, what is
Yeah.
inside of us, what we believe to be true about ourselves, it's coming out in every
Yeah.
way to the people. And so, just for nothing else, for just please consider my words for the people that you love, because I promise you, you are 100%.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I totally agree with you. I think there's a lot of stigma associated with the whole idea of loving yourself, and I think that it's because a lot of people feel like, oh, like you said, like that's selfish, or you're just thinking about yourself. But I think to believe that is to have a fundamental misunderstanding about how humans deal with each other. It's like the way you treat yourself is, like you said, that is the capacity at which you are able to treat other people. You cannot fully forgive people if you cannot fully forgive yourself. And again, this is one of those things where you're just like, man, if you don't know this, like you could live your entire life and just like not have great relationships and keep putting yourself on the back burner. One of the things that I talk about, I just did a workshop recently where I was talking about setting boundaries, and you know, people are afraid to put themselves at the top of the priority list, right? Because they feel like it's wrong, like you're supposed to put other people first. What they don't realize is that if you put other people first, you will always be at the bottom of the list, because there's always someone else who could be a rung above you. But what's cool is when you put yourself at the top of the list, when you take care of yourself, when you become the absolute best that you can be, everyone else benefits. Everyone else gets to reap the benefits of you being the best version of yourself. Whether that's loving yourself, whether that's simply just reaching your full potential, the impact you want to make in the world, all of those things, when you prioritize those things, the benefits reach out into every single person you interact with. Just like you said when you were talking about the opposite, right? When you were like, when I was drinking, it had a negative effect on every person I came into contact with. The opposite is also true. It's like when you work on yourself, when you become the best version of you that you can be, every single person you interact with is better because of it.
That's the beauty. That's the excitement. I mean, that
Yeah.
motivates me to wake up in the morning and say, Shane versus life. I'm ready. Come on,
Yeah.
see what we can do. I mean, it's not only, okay. Don't forget, there's also ourselves are involved in this. Our total results. The way that we see and view and the things that we want in our lives just start changing. It doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get everything that you want, but I can assure you, through my experience and my clients and my life experience, when you start changing you, the world changes around you. And yes, the benefits to other people are just, it's extraordinary. To come to begin here, here and here, to begin here. When something's going down, rather than to look out there for the solution, when you begin here, um, it's empowering. It truly is. It
Yeah.
gives you the power.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I will say, given the, I guess let's call it political climate right now, I think that this actually is a really important message because we tend to look out there, right? And like blame the other people. It's like, this is the problem, you're the problem. When ultimately, I do believe in what you just said, right? That it's like, it has to start here. And that's not just with like our own life, but just with everything. I think everything begins like inside of us. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. Really do. And Shane, I appreciate you coming on today. This was really cool. I feel like the conversation went a different way than I guess I didn't know how it was going to go.
Yeah.
If anyone listening wants to connect with you or take advantage of what you offer, how can they do that?
Yeah, appreciate that. I have I put out about a 3 to 5 minute video every week. It's just a little positive messaging to put inside of your brain, and words that
Okay.
I think to live by. And I call it "You Are Destined for Greatness." It's totally free. You can sign up for my free weekly video at our main website, which is stablelivingcoaching.com.
Awesome. Shane, thanks again so much. I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Appreciate your show and the opportunity. Take care.
You too. Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who'd appreciate it. For everything I have to offer, visit howtobeaperson.co.